Jennifer, I'm seeing it live on my end, but I cannot hear you if you are talking.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I cannot see you, but I do see your logo.
I'm hoping it brings both of us in.
There you are. I see you live on. Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
see you live on YouTube as well.
Okay, perfect. Things are working. Okay, let's a minute and make sure. Okay, so it's gonna flip the screen every time we talk.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So if you want to mute yourself real quick and we will get started. And I think that might be the easiest way to go about this. All right. So welcome everyone. We're so glad we were able to do this today. This is our second attempt, so inshallah things go well. Assalamu alaikum to everyone who's tuning in. We chatted the other day and we really wanted to talk about this topic, Ramadan and breastfeeding, because it's something that comes up frequently around this time of year. Questions from mothers who are partaking in Ramadan, also from providers who have clients who are partaking in Ramadan, and they always have questions about fasting and kind of what the requirements are and how this works. So we know as RNs and lactation consultants that there are always these questions and concerns around this time of year. So we just wanted to briefly address a couple of points today, and then inshallah, if anyone has questions, you can feel free to type it in the chat on YouTube. We will try to answer them as we go along. If not, you can catch us on our Instagram pages and we will go through any questions and just post some reels about them or try to answer in the comments if we can. We are going to provide some information about Islamic guidance as well as how our bodies work and what your body needs during lactation just in general, and then also if you are choosing to fast. Our goal is to give you the information that you need to make informed decisions. So we do always consider that you may need to talk to an Islamic scholar or an imam in your area if you do have more questions about your specific situation, because what works for one mother may not work for another mother. So we just want to throw that out there, that a lot of the information we're going through today is related to lactation, also some Islamic rulings, but we also encourage you that if you do have further questions, always check with an imam or a scholar before you make a final decision. So my name is Jennifer. I am the owner of Latched Eternal Lactation Consultant in the Lehigh Valley, and I do home visits and also virtual consults. I have worked previously in the hospital, a level 2 NICU. I've also worked in community health pertaining to lactation, and most recently, the last couple of years, I do private practice. And so I specialize in tongue and lip ties with babies, but I also cover everything from start to wean-in. And I also mentor other lactation consultants on starting their own private practices or through clinical cases. All right, so you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Omaira. I am a registered nurse and a lactation consultant based in Austin, Texas. I have been in the field of healthcare for about 15 years now. Initially, I started off my career in mental health. I worked at an eating disorder facility and then became a mental health case manager. Since then, I have mostly worked as a nurse and in the area of postpartum, public health, nurse home visiting, and lactation. Back in 2020, I sat for my board exam to become a lactation consultant, and As of last year, I started my own private practice offering lactation services, and hopefully sometime towards the middle or end of this year, as I complete my integrative health and well-being coaching program, coaching services as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So we're going to start by talking about just breastfeeding stages and what is happening at each stage in terms of your baby's development and also milk supply. So before Ramadan even starts, just kind of gauge where you are at postpartum. Are you between 0 to 4 months? Are you immediately postpartum? Are you a couple months out in between that 4 to 6 month range, or beyond 6 months? Because that does make a difference in terms of what your body needs and also what your baby needs. So the most sensitive period is that first 4 months. That is when milk is really your baby's sole nutrition. And really, it's their sole nutrition up through a year. But there's points where they have some flexibility and they may start to incorporate solid foods by 6 months. But the 0 to 4 months is a really crucial time where your body is building milk supply, and it's actually building long-term milk production. And we do find for a lot of mothers that if they milk supply, especially in the first like 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes it is hard to continue to build or recover that. But once that foundation is there, we can oftentimes fix milk supply issues later on down the road. And supply is most easily affected in those first 4 months. From 4 to 6 months, it's still your baby's primary source of nutrition. They're on a primarily milk diet, and they are dependent on your milk during that time. Most parents, if they're choosing to exclusively breastfeed, they may opt to not want to give formula. So the only options at that time is formula or breast milk for babies. They can't take any other type of milks or foods until they reach 6 months. And then by 6 to 12 months, babies can be introduced to solid foods. They're usually developmentally ready at that point. Their gut is able to handle the breakdown of solid food proteins. However, milk supply is still considered their primary source of nutrition up until a year. So this is where there may be a lot of variation. I've definitely seen some babies by 10 months, they are eating like a toddler. They love food. They're taking all types of foods. But then you have other babies that they're really just exclusively breastfeeding even at 10 or 11 months. And they really don't start taking solids until 12, 13, even 14 months. So this is something to consider, how dependent your baby is on your milk supply if you are choosing to fast, and kind of what that situation looks like. And it can be beneficial at this time to talk to a lactation consultant about what your goals are and how things might look, and also considering for yourself what your baby's nutritional needs are. After a year, there's definitely a lot more flexibility. Maternal nutrient stores can actually take years to fully replenish. So when we are considering fasting during any of these times, we really want to make sure that the mother is hydrating herself and nourishing herself well, because those nutrient stores may not even have been replenished postpartum yet. So it's not just about milk, but it's also about maternal health as well. We want to make sure that we're supporting the baby, but also supporting the mother. And there are some exemptions here when it does come to Islamic rulings. So we know that when someone is ill or on a journey, they can make up those days later. There are things built into our religion to help anyone in these situations who may not be able to fast. And one of the concerns that I think comes up fairly often is that women really want to partake in this, which we've kind of talked about briefly before. And they want to partake in fasting, to partake in Ramadan and feel that community effect. And there are exemptions in place, and breastfeeding women and also pregnant women fall into many of these exemptions. So this is just something where considering your baby's age, development, their nutritional intake, and then deciding for yourself and for your baby what is the best route to take, but also knowing that that exemption is there and is applicable to women who are breastfeeding. And one of the things that I talked to a mother about recently was that our duas, when we're pregnant, when we're breastfeeding, subhanAllah, they count as such a higher level during those stages. So even if we aren't get in that benefit of fasting, we have the benefit that we are breastfeeding and we are in that state where our du'as are even more highly accepted. And it's an act of ibadah. Breastfeeding our children is also an act of worship. It's something that we get great reward for. And especially doing it during Ramadan, that reward multiplies. So even though fasting may not be able to take place for some women, there is still so much benefit and barakah in fasting or in, breastfeeding even during Ramadan. So let me pause there because I know, Omara, you had a lot of thoughts on this when we talked the other.
Yes, we spoke a little bit about how, so we are exempt. Breastfeeding moms, even pregnant moms, fall into that category. However, oftentimes I do have moms who will say, hey, can I still fast? What would that look like? Am I allowed to fast even with that exemption? And so really reiterating what you said, Jennifer, in that there are some things to consider before you make that decision. And one of the biggest things is going to be, where am I in my postpartum journey? How old is my baby? Am I having any supply issues? How depleted am I? Is this a 10-hour fast or a 16-hour fast that we do in the summers? What season of life am I in right now? Some other things to really consider would be medical conditions. So diabetes, PCOS, hypertension, any autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions. Did you have a hemorrhage when you gave birth? Are you iron deficient? Eating disorders, any kind of mental health challenges, all of those things can really impact your fast. And really just anchoring it in that Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. Just remembering that. Now, if you are choosing to fast, as you've kind of take a deep look into the things that we have spoken about and being really mindful of those things, some ways to go around that is to just kind of use it as an exploratory period. Maybe looking into fasting every other day, every 2 days, and just having a check-in and seeing, how did that go for me? How was that for me physically, mentally, emotionally? How was that for my baby? Making sure to hydrate. Hydration is going to be key. And we oftentimes just chug the water during suhoor and during iftar. I'm totally guilty of it, but we know that slow and steady is going to be better for you to absorb that and just kinder to your kidneys. Some other things to kind of keep an eye out on is that with breastfeeding, with lactating, with pumping, you can burn anywhere from 300 to 500 plus calories in a day. And so when we are breaking our fast or when we are eating for suhoor, keeping in mind, like, what will my food intake look like? What is my choices in food going to look like to really help to make sure that I don't deplete myself? So those would be some things to kind of keep an eye out on. Other things for yourself as a lactating person would be making sure that you really prioritize protein, trying to get at least about, the rule of thumb is about 30 grams with each meal, making sure that you get enough carbs and fats, really balanced diet, not forgetting our fiber. That's a really critical part too. One of the things, if you're fasting and it is safe and okay for you to do so, is baby's probably going to be waking up at night. So have a bottle of water, have snacks, and use that time to just try to squeeze in more liquid intake and more calories. As far as things to keep an eye out on for baby would be monitoring their output, making sure that they're getting at least 6 wet diapers in a 24-hour period. We want to make sure that their diapers are not really dark. The odor is very strong, very similar to us when we become dehydrated. Their fontanelle should not be sunken in. That could be a sign of dehydration. dry lips. If they're crying, you don't really see tears. High-pitched cry, being fussy the entire day or being really lethargic the entire day, increased feedings. Now, increased feedings, if everything else is normal and okay, it could potentially be that baby's trying to drive up your milk supply and or maintain it, especially in the late afternoon, evening hours. Not being content with feedings throughout the day. Keep an eye on that and ask yourself, could this be that maybe my supply is dipping? And then potential to check weights regularly. However, be mindful with that because that can be quite anxiety provoking. And so if anything that you are doing as you are fasting is taking you away from all of the other beautiful things during Ramadan, dhikr, dua, uh, trying to do the best that we can with our prayers, volunteering, giving back to our communities, giving back to our loved ones, looking after your own self. If it's starting to become really hard, we have to really take a step back and really reassess, how is this serving me during this month of mercy? And just having that mental health check-in. We know that during postpartum bleeding, a woman during Nifas did not fast at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and made them up later. So we know automatically that you were exempt during that period of time. But really just making sure to hydrate well, to get a good lots of calories, monitor baby, monitor yourself. This is a team sport, both you and baby. And taking out the time to focus on all the other beautiful things if you choose not to fast. You are exempt from it. It's a beautiful gift that you have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many other ways that we can use that time to make the most out of this month. So I always say, come as you are. And this isn't a time to we were already doing so much during this postpartum journey. And so to make it even more difficult, Allah does not intend more more hardship for us.
Jazakallah khair. That was so well put. And I love all the points that you touched on because, and this is where I think, as a community, we really need to have these discussions more frequently because I do find a lot of women are dealing with this in isolation. They're struggling with things that they're hearing maybe from other people who have fasted, and then they think, well, they could do it. Why can't I? And it may not, their body may not be the same, their health issues, their health history, their baby, their milk supply. There's so many different factors that are really individualized to each person that it's always hard to make like general statements or blanket statements about all this. And I know a lot of women kind of feel pressured sometimes by family or just the pressure to participate. And then they start to feel that guilt of, not participating. And I loved all the points that you mentioned about just kind of analyzing what the situation is. And then also, if you do choose to fast and it works for you and it works for your baby, just being really conscientious of the non-fasted hours and ensuring that you're getting enough calories. We know with breastfeeding, your body burns an additional 300 to 500 calories per day. And that's on top of whatever you're doing around the house. So if you have a baby and you have other young kids and you're cooking and moving around a lot and doing a lot of, non-exercise activity, you're already burning a lot of calories. You're burning calories literally just being alive. And then you're burning calories breastfeeding on top of that. And we didn't even get into tandem nursing, but if you're nursing two babies, you're burning a lot more calories. So this is just a time, and like subhanAllah, in the winter months, sometimes it's a little bit easier because the fasts are shorter. You actually have more hours that you're not fasting, that you can possibly intake more food, more water. But during those times, being really conscientious about what foods you're eating, how much you're eating, so that you can make sure to kind of replace those calories, since you are burning a lot more calories than the average person who is not lactating. Um, and uh, and I love the point that you mentioned about just understanding that this is also a month of mercy, and there is mercy built into our religion in so many different aspects for women. And that's something that we sometimes don't always focus on as well, that there is all of these different aspects where there is things that, alternatives or ways that we can make this work. I've had some women who were able to fast some days and maybe take a break in order to rehydrate or refuel and then fast more days. So there is, flexibility with those types of things as well, in order to make it work. And we wanted to really impress upon, especially women who are going through this, whether they're fasting, not fasting, that, sometimes there can be these fears of judgment or fears, or guilt of pushing through. But ultimately, if it's causing harm to you or harm to your baby, that's not something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks of us. So this is where having this conversation with a lactation consultant or an imam or a scholar can really help you to determine what works best for you. And ultimately, this decision is between you and Allah, not between you and everyone else. So this is a point too where, you can make this decision based on the information that you have, based on the information that you've gained and the knowledge of you and your baby, and then working towards the decision that works best for you. Okay. And what are some other common questions that you get around this time? Have you had any interesting questions that come up around this time?
Yeah. My goodness, I feel like everything you spoke to is basically what I get. I think some of the biggest things that I get are, can I fast or should I fast? I feel like there are some moms who feel nervous and anxious about it. Rightfully so. You're already doing so much. And to now have to throw fasting into it, especially in the first 6 months postpartum. I say even in the first year, and I know we've had discussions about in the West, postpartum is, your 6 week checkup and khalas, you're done, right? But postpartum is years. I call it a lifetime. And so you're feeling depleted. Your body is going through a lot of changes. Your relationship with your husband, your partner is changing. You have other kids around. That in and of itself is a whole nother journey. And there's a lot going on. And so your brain, just like when you're studying, is just using a lot more calories. And so for mamas who are a bit anxious but they're trying to find an answer, I usually will, basically what we've gone through and just leave them with what sits well with you. Really tapping into what is that inner voice that's telling you what to do. Trust your gut, trust your intuition. Then I have the other group of moms who are like, I think I can do this. Like, I really want to try this out. And I want to hold space for those mamas too. I do find that among non-Muslims that they can meet a lot of resistance and judgment. If they're 8 months postpartum, 1 year postpartum, they're still lactating, they're still breastfeeding. And so I want to hold space for that. And again, go back to using it as an exploratory phase. If this is the first Ramadan that you've had in a long time, I know for some they've had to miss many Ramadans. And so they miss community. A big part of it, part of that fast is being able to wake up in the morning together with everyone, being able to pray together with everyone, being able to break your fast together with everyone. It's like this collective act that even though you may be away from your greater and larger community, knowing that everybody else is doing it, billions of other Muslims are doing it, and you want to be a part of that. I can understand that. In your postpartum journey, we're oftentimes so alone, especially in the West. And so this act of fasting can make many moms feel like they're part of something bigger. And so doing it safely, doing it intentionally, really sitting in with how you're feeling and healing, what your family situation is. And this is why it is so individualized. and personalized for everyone, because everybody's family is different. Everybody's needs are different. Depending on what journey in your postpartum you are in, that's going to be different. Subhanallah, I was reading a little bit about just Ramadan. I was kind of prepping for this talk yesterday, and we know that Ramadan is, we follow the lunar calendar, we follow the moon, we follow basically the seasons in nature. And so we all will eventually, if Allah wills it, inshallah, that we live a very long life, that we will experience all seasons. We will experience seasons in the spring and the fall and the winter. And so it's the same thing with our postpartum journey. It's a different season. And so really allow yourself to be in that season. And if fasting is taking you away from a lot of your other duties, that's where I say, let's really think about what is serving you well again, what serves you well. But if at the same time, if you're able to do this and you're finding that you can do it, then we know that we hold space for that too. Everybody is different in their journey. Everybody's struggle is very different. What one struggles in one aspect may not struggle in another aspect. That's all been tested and given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that judgment and that guilt that one may feel with not fasting, that can be hard. I can understand that. That can totally be hard. However, really going back to this is my own journey with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what's going to serve me well. Yeah, that was a long-winded answer, but
That's okay. Thank you for sharing. So we hope that everyone gained a little bit of knowledge from this. And maybe if you are a mother right now in Ramadan and you are not able to fast or you've opted to not fast, we hope that you find some encouragement in this and some reassurance. We've all been on our own postpartum journeys, and no postpartum journey is the same as the other. They can all be so different. And, so just knowing that whatever things are like right now, it doesn't mean like that it'll be like that again with another baby, inshallah. So, we always have different journeys with even between, multiple kids. So there's always, changes that can come with that. We hope that everyone has a fulfilling Ramadan, that Allah accepts all of your efforts, accepts all of your du'as. And for those that are fasting, may Allah give you strength in your fast and allow you to complete your fast in the best way. And, always know that Allah attends ease for you in these situations. And we always encourage anyone, Muslim, non-Muslim, please reach out to us if you have any questions. Obviously, we love to chat about this, and we hope, inshallah, we can do more of these talks and be able to answer more questions and provide more knowledge and more information to everyone who is either fasting, not fasting during Ramadan, who's Muslim, or even non-Muslim providers who are looking to better support their clients during this time. So we thank you for attending today and for listening in. And inshallah, next year, we are hoping to do something a little bit more structured and more private instead of doing a live, so where everyone can learn and ask questions and have a little bit more time to talk through some of these scenarios. So inshallah, watch out for that next year, and we will be offering something even better, inshallah.
Inshallah, Ameen to all of what you said, and ditto to all of what you said, Jennifer. May Allah bless each and every one of you, regardless of whatever journey and path that you choose. May Allah make this a month of much mercy for all of us. And yes, please do reach out if you have any questions for both Jennifer and myself. And I just also want to thank Jennifer. I met Jennifer right before I started my private practice, and she has been such a wealth of knowledge and such amazing support, mashallah. So I want to thank you for taking out the time to do this. I know that it was a bit of a hurdle for us. We tried to go live on Instagram, but we needed 1,000 followers and we weren't able to get there. Yet we were very, very ambitious on getting this out to you all. So may this be beneficial to you all. May it help you help to bring some ease and guidance and reassurance. And please keep us in your du'as, and we will keep you all in our du'as, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen.